Hello, everybody. Welcome to Keane, and congratulations. You have just joined a very special team in an exciting and challenging period in our history. And you, as a new employee, have an important role to play in shaping our future. Keane has long been recognized as a leader in project management and for its ability to get results on time and within budget on behalf of client companies. This has allowed us to grow while successfully developing long-term relationships with clients. More recently, we have launched leading-edge products and service offerings in such areas as software outsourcing, software re-engineering, and Unix-based open systems. And over the last several years, we have focused on enhancing the critical mass of our business through both internal growth and through acquisitions. This has resulted in significant growth for Keane and significant opportunities for its employees. Keane is dedicated to providing quality software and services to clients, and you are Keane's representative. You have joined a championship team, and we expect you to live up to a high standard of excellence. At the same time, we pledge to provide you with the organizational support and work environment you need to be successful. Keane's strategy is to be the software developer of choice for all of its clients. This means that we have to thoroughly understand the entire software development process, as well as the needs of our customers. And we have to fulfill these needs better than any other alternative. As you will see from the following presentation, which explains some of Keane's history and culture through the words of employees, with your help, Keane is well positioned to reach this objective.
My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. In trading, something has happened in the motorcade route. Something is wrong. This guy's will get it. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
April 7th, 1964, I was a salesman at IBM, and that was the day that IBM announced the 360 computer. Fortune magazine said that IBM was betting its company on the 360. And I remember that day very vividly because I was sitting at an announcement meeting next to Al McMinimum, the treasurer of Boston Edison Company. And I was betting my career on the fact that Al McMinimum might select the 360. Having installed several 360 systems, I realized that the technology was available to do most of what companies wanted to have done. But the capability of absorbing that technology into an organization left a lot to be desired. And up until that point in time, hardware vendors like IBM would say to a customer that they would provide whatever support was necessary to make their computer effective. And I realized that they no longer could provide the degree of support that was necessary. Most customers needed a third partner.
John was a salesman in the IBM office, also located in Copley Square, and I was training his customers, and therefore we did get involved because he wanted to be sure that his customers were real happy with what he was selling from IBM. And when he decided to join his own, to start his own company, he asked if I would be interested, and I thought this is a good time to leave IBM.
Well, after we started the company, we obviously needed an office. And I realized that we'd be spending many, many long hours, so look for an office close to home on a very, very tight budget. So I found an office over a donut shop, Nichols Donut Shop in Hingham. The rent was terrific, only $60 a month. The size of the office was about 10 feet by 12 feet. Couldn't put much furniture into it. We were able to buy a desk and a chair for about $200. And then to fancy up the place a little bit, a neighbor sent over a philodendron plant, and that's how we started business.
Doreen and I were old friends, and John hired Doreen first, and then she subsequently brought me into the company. And John and I interviewed in my apartment in Brookline at the time, and which was a real disaster area. I mean, it was horrible. I couldn't believe that this man was coming to interview me in this hovel that I lived in. I was brought into my first account, Keane, which was a company called National Casket Company, which was this beautiful old Gothic building located in the corner of Mass Ave and Commonwealth Ave in Boston. All the people who worked in that place were one step away from using their own product at the time.
Keane people just dress better than anybody else. And I think it was very, very quietly a great deal of pride in going to a client site and both assuming like a chameleon the color and the texture of the client, but maybe a step above. That, no doubt in my mind, Keane people just dressed better.
The thing that impressed me most is that if I had a problem in what I was doing, I could always pick up the phone, and I'd have somebody that could help me out of a problem. If I didn't know the answer, we were surrounded with enough good people to find the answer.
Team meetings went a long way toward building that feeling that you were a single company, and became an important way of bonding one with the other. We were all working lots of hours during those days, not uncommon to have people working 60 or 70 hours a week. We had several folks who had trouble recording their hours on the timesheets because there was only two digits allowed on the timesheets, and they were billing more than 100 hours in a week.
Motivation for the 80-hour weeks came just from watching John run through the office. It was never stated that you must do this. It was, we have a job to get done, and he was doing his thing, and he was doing it 120 hours a week, so it was very easy for you to get on the bandwagon and work as hard as you could possibly work, and call it part-time. That's what I loved. I always worked part-time.
When the company finally moved from over the donut shop, we went to 101 River Road in Weston, Mass., which is right on the 128 loop. In fact, even today when I drive by it, I have a bit of nostalgia. And it was an old medical building. In fact, I remember it as vividly as if it was yesterday because it was very unique. We had 32 very, very small cubicles that were used as examination rooms. And in between every two cubicles was a bathroom. So we had 32 cubicles and 16 bathrooms. So not only did we work hard, but we were very fastidious, and there was no waiting. The rates were astronomical when we started in '69. I mean, we had some of our junior people who were earning $12 an hour, and we went all the way up to $18. Oh, 1970 was a banner year at Keane. That was the year we went public.
If the Equal Rights Amendment were ratified, these girls...
The Keane machine was a precursor to the modern personal computer. It was a desktop machine that was the size of a very large typewriter, somewhat similar to the original compact computers that came out back about 5 or 6 years ago. It had a very small screen, it had a keyboard, and it had 2 cartridge tapes in it. It had its own computer language, and it actually could do all the things that personal computers do now, only much less of them and much slower.
1971, that was a year that'll live in infamy at Keane. We had begun about 7 fixed-price, fixed-time contracts. And I guess I'm being very polite when I said they were less than successful. In fact, John came back early from vacation because 7 of them were running overtime, over cost.
When I tried to find out really what we were going to do about it, I got off by myself and I reviewed every single project of what I thought were the key elements in causing us problems. And I tried to look for similarities from one project to another. And there were similarities, and I would write them down. And I had lots of things that went wrong, and finally we were able to amass them into, in this case, a half a dozen key areas that if we really focused on, and focused on seriously, that we had something that might be teachable. And this was the beginning of productivity management.
Signed, the President emergency effective at noon tomorrow.
In 1975, Keane acquired Innovations in Technology, and it became the healthcare division of Keane Incorporated. In 1977, we became known as KeyMed Hospital Systems, and at that time we opened up a separate unit within the division in Boston and developed a product on an IBM System 3 computer, which later we moved on to an IBM System 38.
We saw that there might be a place in our organization for that less experienced person, the person out of a college program of some kind, or who might have come out of one of the training institutes, and we began to look for ways to get those people involved in our organization. In those early days, it was more done on a branch-by-branch basis, so in 1978, we began to institutionalize that process, if you will, make it a little bit more formal, and to add some resource in the form of formal training programs that would give these folks a better chance to succeed once, in fact, we found an assignment for them. And we also began to apply more management to that overall process. And that really was the beginnings of our college program.
Right away, the first couple things that we did was to begin putting together a list of targeted accounts, which caused some turmoil among the salespeople because nobody likes to give up accounts. At the same time, we were aggressively recruiting senior salespeople to come and join us. We'd put together a compensation package, which at the time was probably the most lucrative in the industry. The other thing is in keeping with the third leg of what we were trying to do. We went out and started to hire very experienced recruiters to help us not only recruit staff, but also recruit the salespeople we were looking for.
We thought that the first thing we should do is to identify a process for finding the best technical and management talent in the marketplace, and then developing systems so that we could train and develop at each level along the career path for technical personnel and for managers.
There was just a whole sense that the organization was really moving into a new level of performance, a new level of activity, and a real emphasis for the first time, a formal emphasis on people, on growing the people, on the realization that if Keane was going to really be a major player in the marketplace, it really needed to have a dedicated commitment to growing its people. MST, which is a management skills training program, was so important because for the first time what it did was really formalize a process for Keane to grow its managers, to take these people who had been such good technicians and really make them into good, solid managers. The new employee orientation program similarly was important because for the first time it formalized so many of the processes and methodologies and attitudes that were part of Keane's culture and made them more formal so that people could actually be them and replicate them and behave that way.
In the early 80s, we were in the software business, but in those days, we rented or leased our software to hospitals, and then the market changed. Hospitals wanted to purchase their software, and so we packaged our hospital systems and we sold them to our hospital clients. And then with the cost of computers going down, we realized there was a market for solutions in other industries, and we added a manufacturing system, and then we added an insurance system. And finally, IBM approached us and asked us if we would help them deliver or develop a system for smaller hospitals, and this became Hospital Information System 36.
In 1983, we had evolved into two business units, one that was focused on providing software products on the Wang VS computer, and the other focused on providing software products on the IBM 38. We maintained separate product development groups, a separate sales force, and we continued to market that product to the industry, sometimes even competing with each other.
We knew that there were tons of project management programs out there, including our own wonderful productivity management, and we didn't want to duplicate any of that. We wanted something that was unique. And so we said, nothing focused on growing project managers. Nothing out there really emphasized how do you become a competent project manager. And we decided we would build that. And so 2 years of love and sweat and tears, and maybe even less than 2 years. We built it, we beta tested it, we piloted it within Keane, and then we sold it.
The software products business is very alluring. It appears that you can make a product once and sell it and install it in many, many different environments. In our own business, you have to do it over and over again. Well, it doesn't work out that way, and all that glitters is not gold. We had invested millions of dollars in software products, and the results came home to roost in the second quarter of 1986. It was then that we reported the first loss in our company's history. I felt awful at the time, and I felt very, very accountable. I remember the executive committee meeting in which I stood up and I told them, those are my numbers, and I felt very accountable for those numbers, and they had to change, but that I couldn't do it myself. I needed their help, I needed the help of everyone in the company. The result is that everybody pulled together, and amazingly, in the very next quarter, we reported a profit of $6,000. It is easy to perform well in good times, but the true sign of greatness is how well one performs in times of adversity.
It was done through tightening of the belt, using the whole organization to assist in this problem, asking people to make sacrifices and their commitments so that they were part of solving the problem and not the problem. And this was done.
The success of the company is really dependent upon the success of individuals. And the focus of the company is to satisfy the needs of people that are closely related to the company, our employees, our clients, and our shareholders.
The Accelerated Technical Development Program, ATDP, is one of the most important initiatives that Keane has put in place, in my opinion, over its history.
The Reed acquisition was important for 3 reasons. One, it gave us critical mass in Chicago, and not incidentally, also gave us a foothold in what later proved to be an extremely important piece of Keane, namely the Minneapolis marketplace. The second thing it did was that it proved that the theory of critical mass actually worked. And the third thing that it did is give us confidence that we could do it again in other markets.
We found a company in Philadelphia and in Cleveland and in Baltimore over the next couple of years and merged them with our existing operations. It was after the completion of those acquisitions and mergers that we embarked on a new strategy for acquisitions. That was to position us in marketplaces where we did not have any Keane operations. And the most significant one was the Compro acquisition that put us into Florida and Georgia and upstate New York.
On September 15th this year, we reached another milestone. It was that day that Keane was listed on the American Stock Exchange. A number of exciting things have happened this year, but the most significant is the fact that we had the leadership, the capability, and the confidence to be the premier company in the computer services industry. The rapid technological changes which took place in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s were challenging and exciting times for both Keane and its employees. But the 90s have already proven to be faster, more exciting, and filled with more opportunities than ever before. The year 1990 was an important milestone in Keane's history. It was our 25th year in business. We had a very successful secondary stock offering which raised over $11 million, and we were named Company of the Year by the Boston Globe. Not a bad 25th anniversary present. Perhaps less visible, but equally important, during 1990, we began to articulate a new vision for Keane, one which focuses on delivering higher quality software and services more cost-effectively by enhancing our critical mass. Our healthcare division signaled this by changing its name from KeyMed to the Healthcare Services Division of Keane. And at the same time, the Information Services Division concentrated its efforts on assisting clients to more effectively maintain their existing legacy systems.
Software Maintenance Management, or SMM, was Keane's first service offering. It addresses the software maintenance problems of clients by letting them outsource the maintenance of an application. We developed a methodology for maintaining software based on our experiences and a process where we take over total responsibility for a system. We also developed an upfront agreement on performance measurements, which we call a level of service agreement.
Hospitals also had a significant need for flexible and reliable information systems which would protect their investment in software. And we believe that open systems would become the solution of choice. So we introduced the Threshold Hospital Information System. We're very proud that Threshold was the first open system on the market. Threshold runs on RISC computer hardware and under the Unix operating system. It also takes advantage of relational database and a fourth-generation language.
My focus is to continue to improve and strengthen the day-to-day level of performance of our field operations to ensure we continue to produce the quality results that our clients need and expect. Together with branch and area managers, I'll be personally developing stronger, more senior relationships at client companies.
The company is actually demonstrating to clients how to take advantage of new technology through its own internal systems, the branch time and expense system, the branch operating support system, Resumex, and the sales productivity system. Take advantage of technologies such as client-server architecture, wide area networks, and artificial intelligence. These systems not only improve efficiency, but provide Keane with a significant competitive advantage.
Now that HSD had the organization and our Unix-based open systems product in place, our next step was to build critical mass. In 1992, we began to do this through acquisitions. In April, we acquired Ferrante Healthcare Systems, and in July, we announced a letter of intent to purchase Professional Healthcare Services. When completed, the strategy will immediately propel us to being a major player in the healthcare market with more than 220 hospitals and over 250 long-term care clients.
As Keane continues to grow both internally and through acquisitions, it is important that we do not dilute what makes Keane unique and special. We need to continue to attract, develop, and retain the finest staff of technical professionals in the industry. We'll do this through our staffing and placement efforts, our personnel and benefit systems, and our training and development programs.
An increasingly competitive worldwide market is forcing Keane's clients to change the way they are doing business. They need to do things more quickly, to do more for less, and they need access to the right information. In response to these evolving client needs, Keane continued to implement its strategy in 1993. January 1st proved to be an important day in Keane's history with the acquisition of GE Consulting Services. Combining ISD and GE proved to be a winning combination. The acquisition broadened our services significantly. It increased the critical mass of existing branch offices and allowed Keane to cost-effectively enter new markets. Of equal importance, the resulting economies of scale enabled Keane to deliver software more cost-effectively. We have been able to lower our overall cost by 2.5% of revenues. And HSD, pursuing the same strategy, finalized its acquisition of PHS in August. HSD now serves the entire healthcare continuum, and that is community hospitals, large teaching hospitals and chains, and long-term healthcare facilities. We believe this will be increasingly important with the implementation of impending healthcare reform. The end of 1993 is turning out to be equally significant. In October, Keane had yet another successful stock offering, and on November 4th, Keane signed a letter of intent to purchase AGS Information Services, Atkinson Tremblay and Associates, AGS Federal Systems, and AGS Management Systems. AGS and these businesses have estimated 1993 revenues of over $160 million. Together, Keane and AGS will be a market leader and a rapidly growing, financially dominant competitor. Keane will once again double in size, improving the critical mass of many existing branch offices and cost-effectively enter new markets. And, as with GE, we anticipate the combined organizations will enable us to more cost-effectively deliver our services to clients. The needs of our clients and the industry itself are changing. Keane is evolving to meet these new challenges. But one thing remains constant. Since the beginning, Keane has been fortunate in the caliber of its employees. Keane people are very special people. You are not afraid of a challenge. You want to be the very best, and you are truly dedicated to the success of our clients. I believe an enormous opportunity once again exists for Keane today, just as it did in 1965. And I truly believe that the next decade will be more exciting, more rewarding, and filled with more opportunities than ever before.